Today on In the Woodyard, it's chainsaw sharpening day. We got one nasty one and one that's not too bad. We're gonna sharpen them both up, and then tomorrow we're gonna do some cutting. Let's get sharpening. So I'm about to sharpen this Echo, which isn't too bad. I've sharpened it once, and it took the rakers down once. I've cut 2 tanks through it. Tomorrow we're gonna cut a 3rd tank through it, and then we're gonna sharpen up this Husqvarna over here. This is a 572. And the chain on this is just about shot. It really is to the point where I should just change it out. But this is a good one to do a demonstration. The chain should just be pulled off and put a new one on, but I'm gonna sharpen this up. I might even run this into the gravel a little bit, or maybe even onto the concrete here, and dull it up a little bit more just to show you. And what I'm gonna show you is how to sharpen with electricity. I'm gonna use the Dremmel. I've done it lots of times before. I use the stones, and the stones I use are the Oregon 7/32 bits. Right here, there's a package. They come in a 3-pack for about $7, something like that. And each stone will give me anywhere from, depending on how bad the teeth are, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 sharpenings if I just got to touch it up, and then they wear down. Now, the one that's on here is already starting to get a little bit wore down, but it's still good enough for sharpening, especially on this crappy chain here, the one that's just about all wore out. And I'll show you some footage of some close-ups of this, because the camera I got right now I can't focus really close with, but I got another camera here that can, and I'll show you that right now. So this is the nasty chain, the one that really should just be tossed. You can see that first tooth wasn't too good. That was not terrible. That one's got all kinds of scars and tips gone. That one's kind of rounded. That one's got a rough edge. You can see that one's just about wore out. That one's got all kinds of crap going on. The tip's not good. The edge is not good. I'm going to go back to the beginning here. You can see that one's kind of rounded. The tip is gone on that one. Needs to be brought back. But the length of the teeth are getting way down there. They're almost too short. At this point, once it gets down to about, that one's bad. Once it gets down to about a third of what's left, I usually just get rid of them. Here is the other chain. This one is the one that is on the Echo. It's basically been sharpened once. See how much longer the teeth are here? Way better chain. Only needs to be touched up a little bit. There's just a few of them there that need to be brought back a little bit as far as the straight edge, and sharpen them up, and they're getting the tip back. But big difference between an old chain and a new chain, as you can see here. So this one's only been sharpened once. The other one probably 4 or 5 times. So there we go. So I know there's a lot of people that think the only way to sharpen a chain is with a file. Well, you're wrong. You can use a Dremmel with a bit. You can use a grinder with a actual chainsaw sharpening wheel. They work fantastic. Bert does some really good sharpening with his. He's got a couple of grinders that he sharpens his teeth with, and he gets them razor sharp. He is a machinist, so he knows what he's doing. And this might not be a 10 out of a 10 when it comes to sharpening, but it's darn close. And I would rather spend more time cutting than sharpening. Some guys like to sharpen all day long. Not me. I want to sharpen in about a minute, minute and a half, and be done, and start cutting again, because I want more cutting time, less sharpening time. That's just me. I'm kind of weird that way. So I know there's a lot of guys that think this is blasphemy. Don't really care. I'm going to show you how I do it. So I am going to use my sled. This is the vise that Bert makes. We have these available to buy if you want. We charge, I think we sell them for $80. It's a totally machined aluminum vise that we have. It's got a thumb screw that you put in here that holds the bar in place. It's a helicoil on the inside. This is fully machined aluminum mounted to this board. Basically, it's a sled that we can take, and I can put this on a workbench, put it on my tailgate, take it wherever I go. Holds the saw fantastic, and I don't have to have a vise mounted on my tailgate or even on the workbench. I can just use this. So we're going to be using the vise to hold them, and we're going to do a sharpening job. So the sled is basically a little bit shorter than the saw, as you can see here. Works out really good. So that's the Echo, and the teeth on this are actually not too bad, but I did cut a tank with it, and it could be a little sharper. It still would cut okay, but I know it could be better. This one here is a piece of crap chain. It really is to the point where it should just be tossed, because there are some rounded tips here, and we're going to get it sharpened up. So what I use when I sharpen is I have a Dremmel, and I think I've got 4 Dremmels, and then another one too that's a Japanese knockoff that I got. Doesn't matter what Dremel you use. I do use it wide open. I turn it on full power, so it's as fast as it'll cut. I use earplugs all the time. I always wear gloves. I always wear glasses, and I do have cheaters on these so I can see up close. I can see pretty good. My eyes are really good for my close vision, but I still have cheaters on my safety glasses because that allows me to really see up close what it's looking like. Then I've got the file for taking the rakers down. It's got the smooth edge here so you're not ruining that. Yes, I have pink tape on it. Scratch, I have a marker. I mark a tooth if there's not a designated link that is a different color. So I'll mark a tooth on top so I know where I started. Usually you can see it. These are the stones I've mentioned, the Oregon 7/32. You can get these just about anywhere. Anywhere that has saws will have these. You can get different sizes. This is the right size for my saws, or as close as I can get anyway. But they work really good. I do use one of my power boxes here because it's portable. I can take this anywhere. Right now we're at 87%. Plug it in. This is portable. I can go anywhere with it. I have a bunch of these and they're awesome to have for when you got to use power somewhere on location. You can also use it for charging my batteries for my cameras, my phone, all that kind of stuff. It's got a light on it. So anyway, this one is the T1000. It's a gray cell, and I do have a solar charger for this. Okay, let's get sharpening. Enough blabbering. Okay, we're going to do this in live time here. I'm just going to go steady and show you how I do this. This is going to be all in one shot. So I mark a tooth if there's not a designated, link that's gold or bronze, whatever it is. I always start with the chain kind of out to the end here, and I will sharpen this direction. So I sharpen from the front like this. Full power. Shove this back a little bit so I'm right on the edge. So I'm going to get this so it's got the top plate straight and the tip is nice and sharp. And I'm barely touching it. I just kind of slide it back and forth. I do not use a guide. I don't need a guide. I got a line in the back I can follow. And if I'm a half a degree off, no one's going to take my birthday away. So it's about this fast. It's a little faster than filing, like about 10 times faster. And it works fantastic. And no, I have never had a tooth break on me. It doesn't overheat to the point where it's brittle. The little bit of browning you might see on there, that is actual wood dust that is burning. It's not the tooth. And if there's wood dust on your teeth, it's because it's dull. And this tip is pretty bad on this one. Must have hit something. There we go. It's good. That was a bad one there. And no, I don't make them all the same length. It doesn't matter. Yes, I'm getting the gullet. Yes, I'm getting the top plate. Yes, I'm getting the point. Everything is looking good. So this is how fast it goes. So now tell me, you guys that file, you'd be on your second, maybe third tooth. I'm about halfway done already. And it's sharp, it's very sharp. Now the other thing, when you use the Dremmel for sharpening, the whole saw isn't rocking all over the place, even though the sled would hold it very solid. But I see guys that sharpen without the saw being in place. The whole saw is moving the whole time. The chain moves a lot. There's really no movement here. So I can be very steady. And I can sharpen this very easily, very quickly. I can get the top plate to be a nice straight line with a nice cat claw sharp tip. I'm getting the gullet because it fits right inside of there. And it will be sharp. And I have used this bit to sharpen probably 5 times, maybe 6 times now. I don't know. When you're just touching up, you really don't wear it down much. But if you hit a rock or a nail or something and you destroy the tips of your teeth on the chain, yeah, it's going to take a little longer. You're going to have to grind a little bit more. But it's way faster using a bit with a grinder or to use a wheel than it is a file. So I used to hand file like for years and years and years, so I know how. But about 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, something like that, I switched to using a Dremmel. And once I got the hang of it, which didn't take too long, I rarely use a file anymore because I'm done. So it's pretty fast. And we are cat claw sharp. These are nice, very nice. I will get the other camera and I'll shoot some close-ups of this so you can see. Okay, so right here's where we started on this tooth. And I can put this so it's got my logo back. You can see the tip is there. It is cat claw sharp. Here's the next one. It's, you can just feel it. It is cat claw sharp. And that little bit of burning you see there, that is from dust, from the wood. It's sawdust. It's actual dust because it was not sharp before. So this is the second sharpening this has had. I already took the rakers down one time. I did one stroke on them basically. I'm putting my fingers back there so the camera focuses better because normally it doesn't focus. Oh dang, I just cut me inside finger. I should have gloves on for this. So I just touched it is all I did. But it is sharp. Like I said, it might not be a 10 out of a 10, but it will cut. I will show you on tomorrow's video because we're going to cut some wood tomorrow. There they are. That one's done. Now we're going to go to the other one, the dull one. So now I'm going to show you sharpening the crappy chain, and I'm going to kind of do a voiceover and just show you now. I just go by the witness marks that are on the back of the tooth there. If you see that line, this diagonal, I use that as a guide. Some people use a guide or a jig for doing this. I've done it so much I don't need to. First thing people are going to say, oh, you're not getting the whole gullet. You've got that little hump in there. You know, I used to take it out, and I did it one time like this, and I did another identical chain, identical saw. Without taking it out, I couldn't tell the difference at all when cutting, so I just quit worrying about that little hump in there because it doesn't do anything. It's not cutting. It's on the inside. It doesn't do anything. So, I mean, on noodling, it might take a little bit of the noodle because you're taking up a little bit of space with that, but it doesn't really do anything. So I don't worry about it. I mean, some people get their underwear or not because I got that little hump in there. This tooth is, this chain just about wore out. It really does just need to be tossed. Some of these are just nubs. This is not a good example of a good chain. But you can see how fast I can get the edge there. You get down into the gullet there, you get the nice curve going. You can get the edge, the top plate really good. You get the point really good. And this is a pretty bad chain as far as sharpness and wear on it. It's just not a good one. The better example would be to take a new chain, run it into the concrete or something like that, and then show you up close like this. So maybe I'll do that sometime, show you how I sharpen them. But these little bitty nubs here, I mean, I'm just barely touching them. And if you see that little bit of smoke, generally that is bar oil and actual sawdust that is on the tooth or in the chain that is burning. About 2 seconds after I pull away the bit when I'm grinding like this, you can touch it with your bare hand. It's not, they don't get that hot. I'm not taking that much material off. I'm basically just sharpening up the edge, getting the top plate to be nice and straight, getting that point to come back, the tip, which is what does all the cutting, the top plate and the point. And then on the outside edge you're doing cutting. So whether it's the left or right tooth, you're going to be cutting on the outside edge. So you want to make sure you get that sharp, which is the part that's, on the back side right there as you look in the closest part by that red mark. And you see on the next one coming up here, right there. That's where you want to get that nice and straight and that sharp edge on it, because that's what's doing the cutting. So just sharpening away here and taking the teeth down even farther so they're basically not going to cut very much. This will be the last time I use this chain, and then I'll just toss it. I really should just toss it right here, but I just thought this would be a good example to show you one that was kind of nasty looking. It was the dullest chain I had out of all my saws when I looked through them. Because I've been cutting fairly clean wood and I haven't been cutting too much where I've been hitting the ground lately. The saws just weren't that bad. And because I sharpen pretty much every tank, there's a bad one there, it's mashed. Because I sharpen almost every tank, my teeth never really get that bad. So really all I want to do is touch them up, because the best time to sharpen your chain is before it has to be sharpened. You want to sharpen it just to touch it up. I think this is one of the last teeth here. There might be one more here. Yeah, looks like I think that's it. That's the last one. So there you go. The teeth are sharp. Now I'm going to take the rakers down And when it comes to rakers, usually I do one stroke at a time, because if you get too aggressive, your chain can be too bitey, and you can just, you can drop your saw into a chunk of wood and pick it right up because the chain will just bite right into it. But I like them fairly aggressive. A brand new chain I will take down usually one stroke, sometimes two. And I used to use a gauge all the time, and I would go, check out 4 or 5 teeth around the bar, kind of going around with it and just checking them to make sure they were good. And I always pretty much had it so it was just below the gauge a little bit, probably a little bit more aggressive than what most people, but I like it like that. I'm used to cutting like that. But now I kind of just do it by feel. Now I'm switching to the other side, so I just came around. So you push to the far side and push away, and just do one stroke. And taking the raker down lets your saw cut a little bit more aggressively. So yeah, like I said, I take a couple strokes down on a new one, and then I go by feel. If I can tell when I'm cutting that it's too aggressive, I definitely won't do anything. And if I notice that it's cutting, really well, then I just keep it like that. If I notice it's getting bad to where I can tell them if I happen to force it a little bit, then I back it off, or I'll, bring it down a little bit more. So I think we're just about done here with the sharpening there. So taking the rakers down. There you go. I think that's it. There they are, 2 sharp chainsaws. Now this one is a new chain. Like I said, this is just the second sharpening. I just touched it up after the first tank. I ran the second tank through it, touched it up again, and now it is cat claw sharp. It is razor sharp. This one here, piece of crap chain, down to almost nothing, but I took the rakers down a little bit, and it is sharp now, but it's down to nubs. It's down to about 1/3, and in my opinion, this chain should be chucked and a new chain should be put on. But I did it just to show you, and hopefully the close-ups I did, you guys could see how the teeth were rounded. There were scars across them, the tips were gone, and now it is better. So that's how I sharpen them. A lot of people think it's like against the law or something to use a Dremel, but you know what? It works really good, it's really fast, and it's pretty darn easy. So if you're having troubles sharpening with a file and you're not good at it, or if you don't have a bench grinder to sharpen, Dremel works really good. It's just so fast. Now I also have a battery version that I can use that doesn't have cords. It's got a battery pack in it. That works really good. I have a couple other Dremels that work really nice. And like I said, this might not be a 10 out of a 10. It's probably like a 9.5. And if a file is a 10, for me that's close enough. Like I said, I want to spend less time sharpening, more time cutting. And I sharpen almost every tank I cut. I will touch up the saws. I usually cut with 2, 3, or 4 saws. I'll start with one, work my way all the way through, cut with all of them, give the saw a break, let the saw cool off, and then when I get done cutting with 3 or 4 saws, whatever it is I'm cutting for the day, then I'll sharpen them up, and then I'll cut again, kind of in reverse order there. So that's kind of how I do it. So there you go, sharpening. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back in the wood yard, 5:30 a.m. We're going to run these babies. I got some wood over there we're going to go cut. So come on back for tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. I'll see you then. Good night, Irene. Come and get it!